This is Total Babble. Total Babble. It's a show about music, pop culture, social media, movies, the internet, relationships, TV, whatever. Total Babble. The Total Babble Podcast.
And I was going to call a repairman, and the fucking scam at KitchenAid is, well, we have a one-time repair fee. It's a flat fee of $350. Or we can put you on a program where monthly it's $12 a month for this extended warranty bullshit for 13 months. And that is all we have to offer. And if you have somebody else look at the dishwasher, all of that is void. And then I heard from somebody that if you don't use the liquid rinse, it won't even activate the dry cycle. How does it know?
Rinse-Aid, if you don't use it. Yeah, it's got a sensor in it.
That's ridiculous to me. What the hell?
So you're using a dishwasher without Rinse-Aid?
Yeah, because I saw in a YouTube video that that's kind of a waste of money, and you just let them air dry. But air dry, they come out really shitty. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm still not going to use the Rinse-Aid, and I'll just try to do the dryer, and it's not been working at all. And I think that's my issue.
Yeah, I would go with the Rinse-Aid. Otherwise, you end up with streaky glasses.
Yeah, it was kind of okay with a couple of spots, but it just got really bad, and it's a big scam. Everything is a big scam. I'm very upset, and I think you can tell that we've started the show now based on the way that the cadence of my voice has changed a little bit.
Show started.
We're now in the show. I'll just give you an alert. I'll have a big, non-intrusive alert that says when the show has started. It'll be something like your signal. Show has started. We'll just do that. So I'm irritated and stuff is going on. But what are you going to do? It's all small potatoes when it gets to the thing where it's kind of like the end of the world that we're dealing with. And the news has not been great. And you have a sick kid. And I'm just wondering, you told me you had a sick kid. And I was just thinking, have you sat down with the child and said, it's better if you take care of yourself and just be healthy? Have you tried that directly? Have you had that direct conversation? Does that ever work at all?
You may laugh at this, but I actually have. Oh. For one of the kids who is incredibly accident prone, I have had to sit him down and say, stop making stupid choices. Don't do this, don't do that, because it's becoming a real drain on
Did you
everyone.
say to him, I'll ask you if you said this to him, and it's another point that we can come up to on my phrases of the super annoying. It was okay a couple months ago, now it's gotten to the point of annoying. Did you say to him, play stupid games, win stupid prizes? Because that one is done.
I didn't say that to him.
Okay.
No.
I'm just putting that out there for everybody. Stop saying that one. Because, okay, it was funny a year ago. Now it's like, okay, every Karen says it. And your name doesn't have to be Karen, but it makes you one.
It's so funny. I've been saying that since 19-3, and
I'm
now
sorry.
it's cool. I'm just like, man, people are just taking away all my funness. But
I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you.
No, you haven't offended me.
Right.
Not at all. But I'm just annoyed that people take my sayings and then now I can't use them because they've been overplayed by somebody.
Because the dumb people grab on. It's the dumb people that screw everything up. They don't have a way to make up their own cool saying, so they just grab everybody else's, and they go with that. And so you were the one that started the play stupid games thing. You were the one.
I don't think I was the one. I think it's been around for quite some time, but I was a big fan of it, and I didn't know that it had reached saturation. So I'm going to mourn that a little bit. That's a little bit sad.
Should we do a moment of silence?
Shut up. You know that I'm not allowed to do that. You're always like, watch your spacing on the thing.
Well, you do want to keep the pace going.
Right. I mean, we do. So then you're like, let's have a moment of silence. That's very unlike you, Stu, because usually you're cracking the whip in my face going, watch out for those moments of silence.
I'm brutal to work for. I'm just the biggest dick ever.
I'm joking.
Comes in here every day. Oh, this son of a bitch. I got to deal with him again. He's the worst. It's like I'm an electronic abused person.
This fucking guy right here. Yeah. Oh, man. Too funny.
We'll start with some weird thoughts I had because I'm not that happy with the news this week. But I have today, I am this many days dumb. I think I've discovered something about myself, again, that I should point out to everybody that should embarrass me, but I'll talk about it here. It was even a couple weeks ago on the show. I said, I got to go downstairs and get something. And I left the studio and I came back up and I'm like, I'm all out of breath. And I found that I've been out of breath walking upstairs. And I think, what's wrong with me? I bike ride now. I go up big, steep hills and it doesn't bother me as much. And I don't get out of breath as much. But walking stairs, I'm just like, and I'm going to die. And I think, do I have a heart problem? What is wrong with me? I think something is wrong with me. And I think the issue is that I just forget to breathe. Is that possible? Do you think that there are people that just forget to breathe walking upstairs? Because I thought, I'm going to try to actually breathe like a normal person walking up the stairs, and I was fine. I think I just see a set of stairs, I'm like, and it hold my breath, and I walk up the stairs. What the hell? How dumb is that?
I don't think it's dumb. I think a lot of people have idiosyncrasies or sort of strange things like that. I've got a weird one, which is when I'm watching television and it's sort of tense. Yeah. I like tense up my legs and my butt and I hold my breath. And so it's like
kind of a workout. You're doing a workout as you're watching TV.
Yeah, and then I'm wondering, geez, why does my right ass cheek hurt? And then I realize, well, I've been clenching again. And so I can't watch horror films because then I won't be able to walk afterwards. Yeah. It's not because it's scary. It's because I just don't want to have to deal with the delayed onset muscle soreness that comes after 90 minutes of clenching.
Mom, you've got a little bit of a limp. What's going on there? Oh, yeah, I was watching a ghost story last night.
Totally.
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe you and I are both weird. But I could see how that could happen.
Okay. I think that's what I'm doing, and I think it's good because it means I'm not going to die of a heart attack, but it just means I need to figure out how to breathe routinely. I think that would be good for me.
I think that's in the manual for being a human. Breathe. I think it's important.
Because I don't think about it a lot. I don't know if you do. I don't go through life going, oh, okay, breathe. And maybe that's what we need because it will keep you centered, give you more oxygen. And they always tell you, breathe deep. And I don't do the deep breathing enough. Sometimes I don't do the normal breathing.
I get my kids to do breathing exercises, but I never take my own advice. I'm way better at looking after other people than I am at looking after myself.
Speaking of your kids, here's another weird thing I thought of. The one time that you had, I think your older kid on the show, you had audio of him calling you, where you played that. And I think you said to me at one point that you have your wild accent, but your kids didn't have that because they were mostly raised in this country. And listening back to that, I thought, well, he does seem to have a little bit of your accent. He has a little bit of your phrasing, and maybe you don't hear it because you're you and you're not used to that. So this being the case, I was listening to music the other day, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm pretty sure one of your kids was on a Pink Floyd record. And it doesn't make any sense. I tried to work it out numerically with time travel and that kind of thing, because I'm talking about Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is like almost older than me. It's that old. And I don't know how your kid would be on this record, but I'm thinking now of your smaller child. You have an older one and a smaller one. And I immediately thought that, okay, this must be your kid, and we just have to figure out how this happened. And it's a Pink Floyd thing, so it all makes sense. Maybe time travel was involved. So from Pink Floyd's The Wall, just picture this. Picture that you're out on a walk with your little boy, and you're in the park, and picture this happening.
Look, Mummy, there's no plane up in the sky.
And then the guitar comes in. I'm pretty sure that's your child. Please explain.
It's so funny. My kids sounded like that when we lived in Australia.
I see.
But now they've lost their accents. Please, Mummy, that's a British child.
I'm aware, but still, it's that kind. There's an airplane up in the sky. I totally picture your kid doing that, and I don't even know what your kids are or look like. They could be 8 feet tall for all I know, but that's kind of what I picture.
It's kind of interesting, right? But you know when you did that AI picture about the fart blaster and the top hat?
Yeah, when we had that show, I put together an AI pic of the fart blaster.
Right. That's what my son actually looks like. And so...
That's spooky.
So I showed him the photo and he's like, that looks like me. It's like, yeah, weird, right?
How does that happen? How do you explain that? That's kind of scary to me, and I don't like AI anyway.
Yeah, I think it's just all that says to me is that he just looks like a generic child. He's the home brand version. He's the house brand white kid. Just like any kid. That he just looks like any kid.
But see, I didn't get that because the kid in the picture, I said that kid is ready to kick some ass with a fart blaster gun. He was ready to go. He was like a Kyle Rittenhouse with a fart blaster is what he was.
I can't believe that guy. He's become a hero.
So many bad heroes. So many shitty heroes.
So many shitty heroes. I know last week we were talking about how we've reached the find out component of fuck around and find out on the new regime. But can you believe it? The federal workers who are now all getting shit canned are now coming out, the ones that voted for Lord Emperor Cheeto and First Lady Musk. They are now coming out going, I didn't expect this.
Well, you're stupid. I voted. The problem is you're stupid.
And they're just axing tens of thousands of people. Have we already talked about what happened at the Department of Energy?
I don't think so. I don't think it had happened yet.
This is great. So you obviously know what happened.
I think so. They basically went in and fired everybody.
They did.
Yeah.
But energy isn't just about electricity. It also runs the entire fucking nuclear program, including the nuclear weapons program.
They got rid of important nuclear people. Yeah.
All of the people who check the systems to make sure that they're okay and that all of our tools and systems are ready to go in the event of a war, all of those people, they were laid off, chopped out, no access, nothing. And then when it came for the regular system maintenance, there was nowhere to be seen. Also, they were non-contactable because they've been locked out of all of the systems. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know everything that's going on. My existence lately is once a day, I look on the internet, and it's probably too generic. I go to Google News and just kind of see the big headlines to see what's going on. And then I take care of the elderly, and the elderly I take care of insists on watching David Muir and ABC News every night. And when that's on, I go somewhere in the house because I just can't watch the Trump shit show that's going on, and I find something else to do. I just can't deal with it. And I think we are going to need to have a national revolt, whether that is a civil war, I don't know, but I think we're probably going to need to have days where nobody shows up to work, whether you are a public servant or not, just to completely stall things out and F everything up so that it's completely terrible. And that's kind of precarious for me, but I would do that. I would join everybody in that. I'm at a place where if I lost everything employment-wise, it wouldn't be great, but it's worth the effort to kind of save the existence of our country. So I think we need national walkouts, and just getting everybody to commit to that is going to be the hardest thing. And other than that, we're screwed. I saw a headline earlier that I don't know exactly what it was, but it was some kind of thing about somebody had finally shut down Musk in a big way. And I'm hoping that that's the case. I can't watch it anymore, and I would love to go to Canada. I'm kind of preparing for that. Took $15,000 out of the bank the other day, just in case. And it is now stashed at a very secret place within the house because that guy has everybody's information, and I would just rather have cash. And they tried to talk me out of it at the bank, and I said, well, are you sure you want to do that? I said, yeah, I am. Let's do that right now. So maybe we'll do a show from Canada. And then I think, do they have internet in Canada? Probably. Don't know if it's that good, but we'll find. Oh, you know people in Canada.
Many people in Canada.
Do they have good internet there?
Great internet.
All right.
Yeah. So, super good. In another amazing turn of events.
Yeah.
I got a new phrase for you.
Okay. Is this one that's going to get old quick? I hope not.
Well, if it does, it'll be because we've overplayed it and then it catches on.
All right.
So, I know that you have a soft spot for people who just waste your fucking time.
Oh, yeah.
Slow walkers, slow talkers, people who are like clogging up the system, people that shall henceforth be referred to as clock suckers.
Ooh, like it. And you don't have to be fast, just have a purpose. Like the people that just meander around a supermarket. You don't have to be fast, just have a purpose and get out of the way. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. But if they're not people who are just sort of aimlessly holding up shit, people who are asking questions for no particular reason, people who are taking out their lack of a meaningful existence on the rest of us and just generally gumming up the system and wasting all of our fucking time. Clocksuckers.
Clocksucker. And I like it because it makes you think of it the other way. And that's very satisfying too.
Exactly.
As long as we're bitching about people, I'll tell you this. People and their goddamn dogs when I'm out riding my bike. Here's the thing.
Oh.
I ride on the sidewalks because people are insane drivers. They don't know how to drive. I've almost gotten hit a few times, so I stay on the sidewalks. And I'm always very courteous to people when we're on the same sidewalk. I'm like, hey, everybody, let's share. Let's work this out. Couple times now, one woman, one asshole guy with a pit bull I almost got into a thing with. I'm coming the opposite direction. I'm about a half mile away. I know they see me, and they have their dog, and then they just act like it is the biggest thing in the world to get out of my way and allow me to pass. And I had this woman that saw me coming and she just looked and she just waited, and then she waited till the last minute and she rolled her eyes at me and threw her head back and finally grabbed her dog like, okay, come over here. And I said, sorry to inconvenience you, asshole. And then I went on my way. Same thing with the guy, except the guy moved his dog and he pointed to the bike lane and waved his hand back and forth like, ride in the bike lane. And I went, no, I don't do that. And I stopped and I waited for him to turn around and he didn't turn around. Fuck those people. Fuck your dumbness and your inability to share the sidewalk with a human being. I'm also the guy that I come up on somebody that has a dog and they get him out of the way and completely move and they're like, oh, here you go. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Have a nice day. I will say either, but it's just about being a decent citizen. Pretend it's a city.
People, I don't know what it is, but people are really rude. Yesterday, one of my friends, she is actually in the early stages of pregnancy, which is very exciting and stuff. But she was driving home and she's suffering from terrible morning sickness, right? And so she sent me this text and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Why are they so fucking rude? She says, I was driving home and she started vomiting uncontrollably. So she has vomited up into a bag in her car while she's driving, right? She's got terrible morning sickness. She said, but the bag has a hole in it. So she's vomiting. And so she then has to pull out of traffic and pull off to the shoulder of the road. And then she's got this vomity bag. And so she opens up the door and sort of puts the bag out into the street. And the lady who's behind her is just giving her hell and pulls out her phone and starts filming her, this pregnant woman who's incredibly sick, as though she is committing some sort of major crime.
Right.
And so this lady is trying to say to her, I'm vomiting. Just like, fuck off. Stop filming me. And like, where has the decency gone? She's having a medical episode, and rather than someone going, are you okay? Do you need some help? They're jumping straight to, let me fucking film you and invade your privacy. To what end?
Yeah.
I'm just.
Are you going to call the cops? Are you going to
people?
perform a citizen's arrest for that person that's vomiting and throwing the bag outside their car? Don't be an idiot.
Don't be an idiot. I mean, anyway, people are cunts. End.
Yeah, we
Showdown.
live in a society where it's true. We live in a society where the thing is to get the other guy. Oh, I'm going to fuck the other guy because in my mind, they are on the other side of things. I think that's the psychological part of it. Maybe if you're on the ultra left, that person doing that thing must be on the ultra right. And I have the opportunity now to fuck them. So I'm going to do that. Watch it. Here we go. Forget it if they have a good point or have a reason for doing it. But, you know, I'm just going to do that.
The world would be a much better place if we all just assumed the best in other people, treated people with kindness, dignity, and respect, reserved our judgment, and realized that we don't know what somebody else is going through, so let's just pump our brakes before we make assumptions. Like, the world would be a much better place if we did that. But there are just so many little rage bunnies out there, unhappy with how their life's going. So they want to stick it to whoever they can because they think that somehow this is going to make them feel better, feel vindicated. Let me just fuck with somebody else's shit because I'm unhappy with myself. But at the end of the day, it's not going to work. It's just going to make you feel even worse.
Rage-filled as I am, would like to think that probably it would go like this for me if I was behind your friend. I would probably be bothered that she was in the way if she was not getting out of the way, and maybe get pissed that she was driving too slow and like, oh, what the fuck is up with this person? But then I would like to think that when she pulled over and I see her vomiting and dealing with that and throwing the bag out into the street and having to deal with being that sick, I'd like to think that I would at least be like, oh, okay, let them go. They're really having some issues. I think I could get to that point. So maybe I'm not a great guy, but at least in the middle with that. I don't know.
Yeah. There's something good about being able to change your opinion in the face of new information. Something that I think is admirable for all people, and everybody should aspire to be able to do that. So
admit you're wrong. That's a big one with most people. I'm pretty good at that. That's a thing I'll pat myself on the back for. If I screw something up, I'm like, oh, screwed that up. Sorry. I'm totally on me. And it's really easy to just do that and move on when you get used to it.
Yeah, I agree. Got to be able to do it. I did something today. I'm still thinking about it. Do you want to hear what it was?
Yeah, what's your deal?
So in my job, I do a lot of sales. And
I'm sorry.
as a part of the sales call, I was talking to this prospect and I started saying to him, okay, let's talk about some things where we haven't done well and why. And he's like, wow, do you really think that this is the place where you want to start telling me when your company has done a bad job? And I said, well, absolutely, because what is going to be critical to us working together is us having a good relationship and understanding where you start and end and where we start and end, and tell you times that haven't gone well where, say, the client has changed what they want to be responsible for or has done different bits and pieces. So I want to tell you about a few situations and I want you to tell me whether or not that's how you want to operate, because I'd much rather us have a conversation today that's going so well and say, actually, the way I work and the way that you work are too different. We're not going to work well together. Than us think that everything is great. I sell a project to you and then we get 2 steps into it and realize that our working styles between our teams are just too different.
Right.
But it's still playing on my mind.
No, I think that was good. And I think he was off-put because nobody ever does that and nobody is ever that honest. And probably that's going to settle in with him and go, okay, at the very least, they're telling it like it is. And I think that has created some trust, and I think I can trust those people. And if they have identified that, they're going to try to do so much better, especially when they've communicated and pointed that out to me. I don't think that can be anything but a positive.
That's good. I value your opinion because I was sitting here going, man, I've always been like that, but that's the first time someone's ever said to me, like so emphatically, wow, that's really weird. Are you sure you want to do that? And then I definitely doubled down on it because in the moment I was like,
what are you going to do?
I'm sure I'm doing it. If I wasn't sure, I wouldn't be doing it. This is my inner monologue at the time. I'm like, yeah, of course I want to do this. This isn't just me trying to sell to you. This is also me deciding if I want to work with you.
Right. If I hired somebody to do anything and they said that to me, I would be very refreshed and be like, okay, I can trust that person. Because they're pointing out, hey, this could have been better, and I know that they're going to do better for me in the future. Yeah.
That's good. Well, I appreciate your perspective. Thanks for sharing that, because that was really a shit inside my own brain with that one. And as you know, my kid's been sick. I haven't really slept for any decent amount of time recently. So I'm really like getting all up inside my own head, thinking about things I did wrong from the 90s at 2 o'clock in the morning, all sorts of crazy shit.
Not to be judgy, but again, I feel like if you had a conversation with your kid and told them not to get sick, it might go a little bit better for you. But I'm not trying to be the parent. I'm just pointing that out,
I mean, I did try that yesterday. I did try to say, stop fucking around. This is bullshit. I don't have time for this. But he was having some sort of neurological episode that required the ER, and it was really weird. It's super scary. I don't know if you've ever seen this happen before, but he had one pupil bigger than the other.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had a headache, and he was nauseous, and he couldn't really stand up, and he was grey and everything. And he hadn't hit his head or anything like that, but we went to the ER, and he was hypothermic, which means that his core body temperature was lower than it should be. And it was all very confusing. And every time he would sit up, he would get a headache. But every time he would lay down, he would stop feeling sick. But every time he would stand up or sit up, he would feel really sick. Long story short, the doctors have no idea what's wrong with him. They couldn't fix him. And they just sent us home basically with, hey, Mum, just watch him. If more bad stuff happens, if he gets worse, bring him back. But here is a referral to go and see a neurologist.
And that is just the way emergency works. I went to the emergency room so many times when I couldn't breathe because I had a paralyzed diaphragm, and they told me there was nothing wrong with me and sent me home. That's the way things work in America. It's this great health care that we pay for. So sorry you're dealing with that. I wish you well on that.
Thank you. But I know that you can relate to it, right? And when you're sitting there, because I know this happened to you with your diaphragm, right? You're there. You know that there is something wrong.
Yep.
When he was first taken to the back, they said, he's probably just got a headache, before they'd even looked at him, before they'd done anything. And I was like, that's really weird to leap to that conclusion. And then they started seeing all of the things that were wrong with him. And then they just more and more tests, more and more tests, more and more doctors, more things, CT scans, like all of this sort of stuff. And just yes, the doctor openly admitted that there's a bunch of abnormal things. She has no idea why they're happening. But then they're just basically go home.
Yeah, they did their part. Their ass is covered. I need to send you to somebody that can look into it now. That's the way medicine works in this country. I don't know if it's that way in Canada or how it works in other countries, but it just seems like a really not good way to go.
I came home feeling very disconcerted and stressed because I don't feel like I'm qualified. She talked to me for nearly 20 minutes about all of the different things and symptoms to look for to know to bring him back. And I was like, I'm not qualified for this. I don't know what that means. What if I miss something and my kid dies and I don't get into the hospital? What if I accidentally fall asleep and then something bad happens? It's a lot of responsibility. I would have felt way better if they had have given him an MRI or admitted him.
Well, in the old days, they would admit him and figure out what it is and work out the problem. The way healthcare is now, they just send him home until some specialist figures it out or not, and then people die. And that's the way things are nowadays. We just accept it. So I guess I'm saying be careful, and I hope things turn out well for you.
Thank you so very much. Have kids. Yeah. It'll be fun.
Speaking of kids, did you see Elon's kid and this thing going around?
I mean, which one is? It's the one. It's Alphabet Soup, and that's the kid Alphabet Soup who's always with him in the Oval Office, sitting on his shoulders for interviews and everything. Or
there was a video going around with this asshole little kid. He's really a chip off the asshole block, you can tell, with his dad Elon, and he's there in the Oval Office for some reason that I don't understand. And there's videos of him shushing people and saying to the president, shush, you need to go away. You are not the president. And I so wanted it to be true. And looking at the one shot of that, he's standing right next to Trump. And I'm like, wow, this so speaks everything to everything. But I don't think it's true. People theorized that there were people off camera that the kid was talking to. And I'm like, but he's right there next to Trump, and it looks like he's looking at him. And then there's another shot of the kid that's hard to find where he's up on Elon's shoulders. And he's talking shit. And you can tell he's talking right past Trump. And he's talking to somebody, maybe in the press or somebody that's talking. And I was like, oh, I wanted this kid to be a little asshole. And it seems like he's an asshole. He's just not being an asshole to Trump. God damn it. I was all excited for a second.
Yeah, I think he's just being an asshole to other people. But those clips are real. They do have, it is take your kid to work every day for Elon in the Oval Office.
Things are going to end so badly for that guy. Can't wait. The Tesla sales are already completely down. Sheryl Crow sold her Tesla. That was a big thing that went around and donated the money to NPR because Elon was going after NPR. And good for her. I would like to remind everybody to go buy Sheryl Crow records. This is like a good thing you can do to support. Like, even if you stream, just go buy a record. What the hell? Globe Sessions is a great record. That, by the way, is one of Ozzy Osbourne's favorite records. He's said, oh, Sheryl Crow and Globe Sessions. That's like his favorite. And the self-titled record she has, Sheryl Crow, is a real good rock record. It wasn't her first one. It was a later one. She did that where she called it Sheryl Crow, and spend some money and do the right thing that way.
She's a good egg.
Yeah.
How do you think people would react if Elon Musk was a woman? What do you think would happen if Trump's chief of staff, who's a woman, tried to bring her kid to work every day? I mean, her kid's probably a grown man by now, but
I don't think people would have the chance to react because I think nobody in that government would put up with it. Nobody would allow it to begin with.
Exactly.
I think that's absolutely a fact. The fact that a guy is doing it kind of says, well, he must really have to do it because the mother's unavailable and we're going to allow it. And this is the guy that's in charge, so we have to allow whatever. And the way everything is in that government right now, nobody questions anything they do, especially on the inside. So, that's very unbalanced, and that's a very good point.
Yeah, and Musk is really not father of the year. He has 13 children to at least 4 different women. One of the children that was just recently born, he is not even speaking or allowing the mother to be in contact with him to try and negotiate how they're going to help raise this child together. And he has disowned one of his children because they're trans.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, and also a little bit about his previous relationships and all his kids and all that. And I made the obvious but good joke, and that is the joke when seeing all his kids of going, wow, somebody actually fucked that guy? Oh my God, I can't imagine that happened. And yeah, I guess money and power, but that is like the ultimate nerd that just has this thing of nerd that would always get shunned. And the only reason he hasn't got shunned is because he's not in high school getting trash canned and he's super rich, and that is his thing. It's just really unbalanced, and it shows that when you're the richest man in the world, you can kind of get all these semi-hot women that I have seen, and that's the way they are, and I'm starting to babble now, so whatever else you've got, you could just jump in.
That's the name of the show.
I know.
So I think we're okay.
He's just, bad things are going to happen to him, and people are already not buying his cars. And the news is coming out too that all these people that he's investigating and going after and screwing, all these agencies that are in our government were investigating him, and it seems like retribution, and that's why he's going after them. So fuck that guy hard.
He's a fucking prick.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I told you people, if any one of you people is listening to this that is not one of our steady listeners, if you're some kind of MAGA twit listening to this, I told you. Remember 6 months from now that I and we, the sane, normal people, told you, and you made your own diarrhea-filled bed. Now sleep in it. Did you see the video of the guy that got swallowed up by the whale? Holy crap.
What?
Yeah,
no,
there's a video.
Isn't that like a story?
You
Isn't
would
that
think.
Moby Dick?
You would think. But if you're on your phone there, I bet you can find it really quick because you're quick at that kind of thing. There's a guy out kayaking on a river, or no, I guess it would be an ocean because it's a whale. And I guess he's with his father, and his father was filming behind him, and it was the most opportune moment where a big whale just comes up from the bottom and completely swallows this guy. The guy is in his mouth and pulls him under, and you think, holy shit, this guy just got swallowed up by a whale, and then it spits him out. I'm just like, holy crap. Are you seeing it?
That's amazing. He was a kayaker.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, a Venezuelan guy in the Strait of, is it Magellan off Chile's Patagonian coast? That's
Sure.
amazing.
Yeah. The fact that they caught that and the fact that that happened. Like they say the whale was probably going for smaller fish and the guy just happened to be there. So that's like getting struck by lightning, the odds of that happening. And then I guess it spit him out because it couldn't do anything else because apparently a whale only has an esophagus of like 8 inches or something across.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're used to eating krill, and it's just their throat, their esophagus is only about the size of a household pipe. So it couldn't swallow him even if he wanted to.
The whale probably was kind of like when you swallow water the wrong way. It's kind of like, give me a second. And he's putting his arms up and trying to do all that. Then I thought, okay, if you actually got swallowed up by the whale, do you think you could fight your way out? Like if he didn't spit you out, like I guess if you made it to the stomach, which you couldn't do, would the stomach acids get you at that point, do you think? You would just sizzle away?
I don't think you would sizzle away because they're not that it's not that aggressive in there, I don't think. Like you've vomited up bile before, you'd sizzle slowly.
Kind of be like a frog in a boiling pot.
Yeah, maybe, but I think you could probably climb up and out. In an idea, you must be able to. If it was if you could have been physically swallowed.
Yeah,
they're massive, but they're not that massive.
Well, and then I thought, okay, that was one of my other questions. Could you fight your way out, and do you go through the mouth, or do you try to go through the butthole? Do you try to go that way? Maybe that mouth. Okay, because that's going to be more irritating for the whale.
Also, I think it's more of a direct shot. Like, think about all of the processing that would need to happen on the latter half, on the back end, versus straight hole from the mouth into the stomach.
Right.
Feels like more of a straight shot.
Yeah. And then I think, okay, while you're doing this, how long would you have? Would you suffocate? Like, if you're swallowed up, is there air in there? How does that work? I don't know. Maybe there's no air, but maybe there is, because if the whale's going up, maybe air gets trapped in there.
That's a good point.
We need a scientist on this show. We need a zoologist on this show.
Yeah, we need to know.
We need a staff zoologist for Total Babble. God damn it. That way we can talk about the chimps and we can talk about all the stupid birds.
Caw-caw!
I have the birds are back, and the bird has had youngins, and they're outside, and I have to chase them away with the drone. It's just
your
really
favorite bird is back. Well, it's almost springtime. Aren't you lucky?
I know. And it was weird yesterday because it was one of their offspring up in the tree, and you could tell. And I got the drone out and chased it away, and the mother got pissed, and it was flying around thinking of how to attack the drone. And then there were about 4 of them flying around, and they just couldn't figure it out, and they got pissed off and scared. And then they left. And then the crows came back, and the crows were swarming. And I said, "Hey, crows, you're cool. I have no quarrel with you, crows." And I thought what the crows need to do is just get it together and just stick together, and they can easily fight off these peregrines, whatever they are, because they have much more numbers and they're smarter. And I just think, crows, you need to unionize. If the crows just unionized, they'd be totally fine. They could beat the peregrine or whatever the hell it is.
I love crows. I haven't heard of a crow union before, but...
Well, if they did that, they could run the world, I think. Crows are smarter than a lot of people.
Crows are smarter than a lot of people, and as smart as most dogs. Amazing.
They can solve
love
puzzles.
Crows.
They recognize people's faces.
Yep.
You know what I hate?
Oh, the show's not long enough.
Podcasts. I hate podcasts.
Okay,
I
why?
really do. Well, it used to be that radio people hated podcasts because it was like, well, I've been doing this radio thing forever, and now every dickhead has a mic. And now original podcasters that have been doing it for a long time are bothered by podcasters because it's like any dickhead has a mic and really unqualified people are doing this. And when you say you have a podcast, it's almost like a stigma now because every person has a podcast. Every comedian, some of them are more qualified, but a lot of them are not. And a lot of these people that want to talk about computer boards for 15 minutes decide they're going to have a show. And it just makes everybody think that you're one of those idiot nerds when you say you have a podcast. Like Bryce Mitchell from the UFC. Do you know about this story?
No.
Bryce Mitchell is a UFC fighter who decided he was going to start a podcast, and he fights, and he's from Arkansas. So, of course, that qualifies him to talk into a mic. His podcast is entitled Arkansanity. He was born and raised in Arkansas. How do you think this is going to go over?
I
know that's a big question.
That's a big fucking question.
Yeah.
I think that there is an audience for everyone, but I am with bated breath. I cannot wait to hear about this guy.
Here's a guy that a lot of people follow. He has hung out with our president, just for perspective. He's just sharp as a bowling ball. And
I imagine he's disgraced himself and is getting canceled.
Maybe not canceled, because it seems like people are saying, go ahead, say what you want to say. He made comments, and then Dana, somebody of UFC, said, well, it's a free world. People can say what they're going to say, and now you can come root against him if you like. So here is his very first podcast. He does it with another guy, and we get to a point here where these statements are made.
I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination.
Public education, he talks about a lot, is indoctrination. It's not really that you're educated. The public kind of learning that you get is indoctrination. And Hitler was a great guy, apparently. Did you get that? Or I can play it again if you want.
Holy shit.
Let's just run it back a little bit because it came so abruptly from where I started this.
I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination. I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with.
When you go out on a fishing trip, you got to take Hitler with you.
I just heard what he said, though.
Yeah.
Which is before Hitler got on meth. Did you hear that end part? Before Hitler got on meth. So I think that's like an important qualifying statement, is that before he got on meth, he was probably a guy that you'd go out fishing with. I think that's an important qualifier.
Well, you're not asserting that he's right in that, I don't think.
Well, I've got two things.
Yeah.
One, when somebody says, from the research I've done, I always go, well, looking up shit on the internet isn't research. Scientists do research, primary research. That's fucking research. If you're out there getting a statistically significant volume of data and then you're analyzing that data, testing a hypothesis, publishing something that's then peer reviewed, come back and fucking talk to me about your research, fuckwit. But until said point in time, doot-dooting on the clickety bit and looking things up on the interwebs where you can find anything that has been skewed by God knows who, that is not research. Right. So that's my first point. Two, sometimes listening, it's about listening for intent, because a lot of people say the wrong thing. Now, this guy sounds like a fucking wanker anyway, but I feel like, now I haven't listened to the rest of the podcast, but if I was going to be generous of spirit, and this is taken, I would say this might have been taken out of context. And if they were talking more broadly about something, I could see myself doing a bit or saying something like, and I'm sure even Hitler was a good guy before he got on the meth and then committed genocide and all of that sort of stuff. If that was his intention, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. So I could see how he would get there. But
so
no,
it's
I don't.
benefit of the doubt. You advocate for the devil.
Right.
Okay.
But if he is saying Hitler was a good guy, just in general through my own research, which isn't even research, then no.
He kind of is. And
is he?
There's a lot of, well, I don't go with all that science business. I've done all my own research, and let me tell you, I'm a free thinker. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I've learned as the truth. There's a lot of that. But I have more of this actual thing. And then there was best of.
I want to hear more.
There's a best of when he was on another podcast, like a sizzle reel of all his wacky thoughts. And we'll get to that too. But here is more of his very first podcast.
He fought for his country. He wanted to purify it by kicking the greedy Jews out.
That got your attention, didn't it? Should have seen her face whip around. Hey, greedy Jews.
Oh my God.
He's...
All right, keep going.
Alrighty.
We're destroying his country and turning them all into gays. They were gaying out the kids. They were queering out the women. They were queering out the dudes.
It just gets better, doesn't it? It's like
what?
Better and better and better. And he's just almost like a bit, but it's real.
And turning them all into gays. They were gaying out the kids. They were queering out the women. They were queering out the dudes. They were, what her first tranny surgery ever was?
Excuse me?
Happened to be in Germany before Hitler took over. The books that everybody makes fun of Hitler burning? You know what the books was? Queer books. Hitler burned queer books because Hitler didn't want a bunch of queers destroying his nation. They can't produce children.
But what about
when he got on meth?
His co-host, also I think in the UFC, is now frightened and terrified and trying to save some of this. He's also a dumb shit asshole, I think, but a little bit less of an extreme dumb shit asshole.
And he turned on Russia. I believe that's when he kind of went full nutty. And I don't think that he was just like the best dude ever. And when I say I go fishing with him, I'm not saying he was the most trustworthy dude or I'd love him or whatever. But at some point in Hitler's life, I don't think he was that bad of a guy. I really don't. And now, was Hitler perfect? No.
Hitler wasn't perfect. Do you want to write that down?
You heard it here first.
If you could get me a new T-shirt for next Christmas, Hitler wasn't perfect. If you could get that for me, I would appreciate it. Holy fuck.
I feel unwell listening to this. Okay, keep going.
This is just the stereotype of Arkansas, and it's true.
But he was fighting for his people, okay? And he wanted a pure nation with people. You know what the Jews was doing? They was charging interest. Fuck. Christians aren't allowed to do that.
There's plenty of Christians charging interest everywhere.
Again, there's his buddy trying to save a little bit of this. Like, well, no, that's not really true.
They was charging interest. Christians aren't allowed to do that.
There's plenty of Christians charging interest everywhere on the planet.
I don't.
Right now.
If you need to borrow $1,000, Rolly, I give you $1,000, and you wouldn't give me $1,100 back. You'd give me $1,000 back.
Sure, between you and I.
These Jews were controlling his country, bro. They were so cold and starving. They were using their valueless money as insulation. They were stuffing dollars in their jacket to stay warm. They were burning dollars in their wood stove. Hitler comes up and says, hey, I'm kicking the Jews out of here because they're killing us with interest. And then now that he lost the war, he's the bad guy.
There's the whole death camps and ovens. That's kind of why he's the bad guy.
Now, he ain't perfect. I'm not a Nazi. I don't love Nazis. I don't want Nazis to win the war. I'm just saying they were in a bad spot and Hitler come to power. But
it's
Elon is
bad to take out a whole, like, to put a whole race into camps.
Right. And that's what your public education.
He was having a bad day that day. That's how that happened. Are you believing any of this? I swear to God, it's true.
No, I believe you that it happened. I can't believe it is allowed to continue. This guy's mental. But there are so many people who believe this. And the fact that he's a voter and he's like, well, I don't want the Nazis to win, the war or something. The Nazis shouldn't still exist.
Right. We should have moved on from that in the entire world by now, but it's making a big resurgence here in this country. I got another minute or so here.
Whole race in the camps.
Right. And that's what your public education will tell you, Rolly, because you believe your public education, because you haven't done your own research. When you realize there's no possible way they could have burned and cremated 6 million bodies, you're going to realize that they did not. The Holocaust ain't real. What about the Bolsheviks when the Jews killed tens of millions of Christians? Oh, we don't want to talk about that.
Well, I don't know much or anything.
When you are talking about death, just point out other horrible death, and that makes the first death okay. That's that tactic. It's the right wing. Yeah, what about what Obama did 15 years ago?
He's a Holocaust denier as well. Yeah. He doesn't think that it happened.
Or if he did, probably Hitler was a good guy and had reason to do it, I would guess. I don't want to speak for him, but it seems to be the way that goes.
He just said that if you did your own research, you'd know that it was impossible, that he couldn't possibly have done it. What? I can almost guarantee this guy, if he has been out of the country, he's only done it to go and do fights. He's never gone to look at anything else. He's never spoken to people of other cultures. He's never gone to visit.
Right.
Like, he's never been to Poland.
Right. He stays in Arkansas, I'm sure.
Right.
Well, let me tell you about the Bolsheviks. It's when these Jews come over and killed the shit out of all these Christians. And they don't teach that in your public indoctrination centers. Guess what? That's why Tucker's getting schooled on this farm, baby, because I'm going to tell Tucker the truth. And the truth is that history is his story.
I guess Tucker is his son, so now we know that he's going to raise a kid to think this way, and that somebody should call Child Protective Services.
It's so weird. And it is true, by the way, that we get a curated version of history and it is true, depending on which country you live in, you get a history and a version of history that is written from the perspective, usually it's very centric to the country that you're in, and it paints them in a better light and all of those different types of things. So, for example, let's talk about the Crusades. Do you think the Muslims tell the same story of the Crusades as the Christians do? The answer is no. If you read the translated texts from Arabic, it's different to the ones that are written in Italian or English or whatever, because it is told from the different perspectives of different people. So it's nice to get a more broad view.
And country historically wants to seem like the horrible, controlling assholes that they are when they were that way in history.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's going to be bias.
There's going to be bias, exactly. And I highly doubt that this guy, in all of his research, has read anything that's not in English.
Right. Well, and that would be that other bias learning that you get in school, too. It kind of fits into that category. You never want to go with that. You want to do your own research and the stuff that you want to hear.
Okay. And history's written by the victor. Okay. Hitler lost, so you didn't get to hear his side of the war. You didn't get to hear how the Jews took his country over. You didn't get to hear what they were doing. And do I believe that he tortured Jews to death and killed them and all this stuff for fun? No, I believe that they were work camps.
And I just ended it there because it went on for a while with more of the same bullshit. And I get that there are people like this in the world, but the fact that he is in the public spotlight and has this kind of attitude and is just that far off base, and that this affects other people and other people are going to listen to what this fucking lunatic says, that's the part that bothers me. Like I said, he was also on some other podcast, PDP. I heard about this. Too many podcasts. I hate the word podcast.
Puff Daddy's Penis Podcast.
Some guy that I don't know what he is, but it's where a lot of the right-wing kooks go. PBD. And he has a sizzle reel at the beginning of the interview with some highlights of when he had Bryce Mitchell on and some of the things that he did. And this is where, these are the things he said. Now you're going to have to watch the whole episode. I'll just give you this.
She cursed my family to die, and she cursed my fighting career, that I would be dead in the cage. I was really disgusted because at that point I knew that demons are real, and that I'd actually invited one into my house. You can't spell Pride Month without demon.
Did you get that? You can't spell Pride Month without demon. So that means everything, doesn't it? Yeah.
Somebody that has fooled everybody, but he simply cannot fool me. Elon Musk. He's actually a step further than just a con artist. He's evil embodied.
Okay, well, that he's right on. Broken clock, right twice a day. There's that part of it. I got to give props to you there, Bryce Mitchell.
He could possibly be the false prophet. The Earth is stationary. It's covered by a dome. You got to know that NASA is evil. Add a T, it can spell the word Satan. You got to know why they're lying. That's
I didn't catch that when I grabbed this video the first time.
Fuck me, I've got another shirt.
NASA is evil, add a T, and you can spell Satan. Well, if you add a bunch of letters, you can spell anything.
No, it's going to be the NASA logo, right? But we're going to have TNASA and then the NASA logo, or the NASA logo. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's a new shirt design.
Well, in the sizzle reel, they put together a little NASA logo with horns. So, maybe you're thinking the same way.
Exactly.
I backed it up. I don't know if I went too far. Let's see where we go here.
she cursed my family.
Yeah, I went too far.
To die? Go house. You, buddy. You got to know that NASA is evil. Add a T, it can spell the word Satan. You got to know why they're lying. That's more important. We are coming close to the second coming of Jesus.
Okay.
We are getting very close. They're never going to take my steak. They can take my life, but they will not take my steak. And I promise you that I love steak. You know, the one
He'd fight to death for a piece of cow meat.
explanation that will lead to freedom more than anything else: starting a farm, controlling your own food.
Yeah, and then it starts the episode, and then it goes from there. And it's just, there are these stereotypes of people that you think might be in the world, and then you see that they are in the world, and it's just dumbfounding and scary. And that guy's hung out with the president. And I wonder how much our president believes in all that. And even Trump with some of that stuff must have gone just like, really? I don't even believe that. I'm evil and I'm going to utilize things so that I can get ahead, but I don't believe all of that. He's a flat earther too, by the way.
I mean, clearly.
Yeah.
We should get Paulie Shaw to call him up and let him know that Biodome was a film.
Yeah.
Not a fucking documentary.
Well, he's doing alternative learning, and probably he watched Biodome.
Oh,
He thought it was fact. He thought it was a documentary.
I have never heard of alternative learning before.
Well, you don't want to be indoctrinated, so you don't pay attention to what's in school. You do your own research and find on the internet, and that's how you learn. That's what you teach your kids.
I'm all for learning as much about as many things as you can, but writing off things without incorporating it, it feels dangerous. I feel like ignoring any input before interrogating it can be a problem.
Yeah, it's just a case of looking for where facts are coming from and who's done the research, and I every time will go with science over some dipshit from Arkansas or some idiot on the internet that's got a YouTube video that puts it together and has decent production, so what he or she says must be true.
Yeah, that guy quite literally has brain damage, and I don't even have to guess to know that. He's a UFC fighter.
Right.
He has brain damage, 100%. And his brain damage is going to continue to accelerate. Something crazy will happen to that guy. He will go crazy, kill his whole family, or something nuts will happen. He is unhinged.
To be fair, yes, he has brain damage, but do you think he didn't have those attitudes before the brain damage? I think he probably believed that way, because just listen to him talk.
I mean, to be honest, I think that he's probably not all that bad. He's the kind of guy that I would go fishing with. And before he got on the meth, I think that he was probably a pretty good guy.
He did what he had to do, and he was misunderstood. And
he was misunderstood.
People that don't get this show are not going to think the most horrible things of you, and I don't care. Those are people that shouldn't be listening to the show.
I'm obviously quoting him back. But...
I don't care. No, she believes that. She really does. If you're stupid enough to think that, then you're not allowed to listen to the show. Go away.
I'm not saying that he's the kind of guy that I would completely trust, but before the meth,
go fishing with him.
I would have gone fishing with him. He is a product of somebody else. A lot of people who try to pretend that they are these big free thinkers, they're not at all. They're having somebody is shitting inside their brain with propaganda. He didn't come up with these ideas on his own.
Right.
That so-called research was incepted. That research was targeting him. He was given that information. These are not his original fucking thoughts.
It just goes to, well, that explains a lot about the election, I guess. And though there is 1% of me that still can't understand that the election went the way it did, and 1% thinks maybe it was faked and taken control of and is all bullshit, then I see something like this. And I'm like, oh, okay. If there's people leading other people in this direction in that part of the United States, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. I don't even know where to go with our world right now.
No. Well, I do. Canada or England. I have a friend that just came back from England. Maybe I'll move there.
Maybe we'll move there. There's fucking crackheads there too. They're everywhere, and it's just so annoying. There was a time where these people would be ridiculed and they would not be able to be nuts, and the community would take care of these fucking whack jobs. But now, free speech and all of this sort of stuff, and I don't know what's happened. People have got to get off the crack pipe, stop whatever it is. People are out there losing their damn minds.
I think the only thing that's going to fix it is all this stuff that they believe is going to screw them in the end. Electing who they elected, they're going to be the first people that can't afford to buy eggs and that are going to get screwed in a lot of things. And I think it's going to take about a year, and they're going to start to see, and hopefully it's not a complete dictatorship at that point. That's the only thing that we can hope for, is that we can stall for a year or two when there's a midterm election, and that'll help. But I think it's going to come down to coups and civil wars and all kinds of horrible things.
It's insane. When you say things, I think, man, I'd love to see Mitchell use dictate in a sentence. I assume it'll go something like this. I think that Elon Musk thinks Donald Trump's dictate good.
And with that, we will end the show. Everybody have a shiny, happy week. Think about all the stuff that's going on and just smile. Smile. Why don't you smile? I don't even know if that's a song, but I've just created that. Smile. Why don't you smile? Think about all the good stuff in the world. Can you think of any?
There is a lot of good stuff. In times like this, one thing that does give me solace, and I hope that it does for everyone else as well, is that for as many crazy fuckwits, there are as many, if not more, wonderful, great people in the world. And most of us have a circle of people that are wonderful, that are great, that make the world a better place, that make every day of our lives bearable. And so if you're feeling really down, if you're feeling really desperate, focus on what you can control and focus on spending time with the people that you care about and that care about you. And that is what will get us through this.
And maybe go build up your attic and make room for those people, because the possibilities are we'll be hiding in the attic like Anne Frank. Make it nice and warm and cozy up there for everybody.
Get the insulation done.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Be-doop, 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 be-doop.
All right. I'm sorry to be such a downer, but it's just reality. Everybody have a good week.
Everybody have a good week.
Okay, you know how this goes. Like us, subscribe, tell your friends, write a nice review, engage with us. We're Total Babble on Instagram, on Facebook, on Threads, and on Blue Sky. Email is show@totalbabble.com. The Total Babble Podcast.